Good evening, everyone. I, Advocate Nilesh Borate, welcome you all on behalf of RERA Practitioners Association, Pune Study Circle. Today we have a special guest with us, Honorable Sri Sumant Kolle sir, who is a judicial member of Maharashtra Real Estate Appellate Tribunal, Mumbai, and he will be sharing his expert opinion on the topic functions, rights, and duties of promoters and allottees under RERA Act. We are privileged to have an opportunity to listen to him this evening. On behalf of all gathered here, I welcome you, sir, to this evening. I request my colleague, Advocate Amit Patil, to introduce our eminent speaker.
Hello, good evening everyone. I, on behalf of RERA Practitioners Association Pune Study Circle, warm welcoming Honorable Suman Kolle sir, who is a judicial member of Maharashtra Real Estate Appellate Tribunal Mumbai. His qualification is BSc Honors LLM. As we all know about one fact, that he was the principal district judge and district and session judge at Pune in the year 2015. He also worked at Aurangabad and Solapur as a principal district and session judge. He rendered his judicial service for 28 years. He was also appointed as the Joint Secretary, Law and Judicial Department, Mantralaya, Mumbai, and Director of Prosecution, Maharashtra State, Mumbai, on deputation during his judicial service. So, warm welcoming, Honorable Suman Kolle sir. I am requesting Kolle sir to take over charge and give us a valuable webinar on topic as discussed earlier. Thank you, sir.
Good evening to all. Our today's subject is rights and duties of promoter and allottees. Naturally, we will be looking towards RERA Act, MOFA Act. Friends, RERA Practitioners Association Pune have chosen such a topic that I remember one example. In every book, 2-3 lessons are very complicated. 2-3 lessons are not easy to understand. So I think that this subject, which is covered by chapter 3 and chapter 4 of RERA Act, is the same type. It is rather difficult to, simple to read, but difficult to understand. Anyway, we'll go ahead. You see, the basic concept of real estate sector, we must understand. I would like to point out, if I do not mistake, what is the origin of flat as far as India is concerned. Initially, the population of India was hardly 25 crores. Majority of the people were used to stay in villages. In fact, they used to stay in bungalows, havelis, and chals. Thereafter, population went on increasing. People started finding out job. There was heavy migration of the villagers to urban area to find out the work and ultimately to find out the home for residents also. So what I know, subject to correction, roundabout in 1950, the concept of flat or apartment was first time introduced in our Bombay city. I think Mr. Ishwardas Bhatia is the pioneer of construction of flat. He was builder. Simla House, Commerce House are the initial examples of such type of building consisting of flats. The nicety of the flat is that you will be getting a house which we may say in air It may not be on the land. Building may be on the land. Building may consist of number of residence flats. But your flat may be on 3rd floor, 5th floor, 12th floor, 20th floor. So nicety of the subject is that you are the owner of the flat, but which is not standing on the land which is exclusively owned by you. We'll come to that aspect, but it was accepted. Then there was heavy demand of such type of flats from the society at large. Naturally, growth of construction of flats also started increasing. Ultimately, healthy practices also developed in this sector. We can simply say that black money started coming, amenities, though agreed, were not provided. Sometimes possession is not given as per the agreed date. So these were unhealthy practices which were started at that time also. So how to overcome all of these things? Naturally, the state government thought it fit to make a law. Then they enacted what we called as MOFA, Maharashtra Ownership Act. It was enacted in 1963. But it is our experience that MOFA was having hardly 18 sections as compared to our RERA, it is newly enacted act. RERA is having 92 sections. MOFA failed to control those malpractices in the transactions at that time. So government had to find out some other way. They enacted the act, namely Maharashtra Housing Act 2012. But see, as per section 56 of Maharashtra Housing Act, MOFA was to be repealed. So MOFA was to be replaced by Maharashtra Housing Society Act 2012. Unfortunately, no notification of Maharashtra Housing Act 2012 was issued by the government, and it was not at all enacted. Then thereafter, in order to overcome all these unhealthy practices and abuses which were experienced in the transactions in the real estate sector, we can say that RERA bill was first time introduced in the year 2013. We'll not go into that much detail. We will come straight away to the fact that ultimately Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016 was enacted, and it was made applicable with effect from 1st May 2017. It's a central act. So states were obliged to frame their rules and regulations which are in accordance with the act. Friends, today's subject is rights and duties of promoter and allottee. We may say that promoter is a developer, or the popular word is builder. And who is allottee? The popular word is buyer or flat purchaser. It will be easy for us to understand the concept. Then from section 11 to section 19 in RERA Act, functions, duties, rights, and responsibilities of promoters and allottees are given. But it is nice to see deals with rights, responsibilities, functions of promoter only. As far as allottees are concerned, they are having only section 19, which is chapter 4. Friends, instead of analyzing and correctly ascertaining what is the true meaning of right, duty, responsibility, function, let us understand in simple language that what we can say, if a duty is cast upon a particular person to do a particular act, this duty is in respect of the right which is with some other person. So if A has a right, then right of A must be giving rise to duty to B to perform it. So right and duty are two sides of the same coin. I would like to point out that Salman, he has said that no right exists without corresponding duty. Every duty of the person must be the duty towards some person in whom the right is vested. And conversely, every right must be against some person upon whom duty is imposed. Thus, right and duties are coexistent. So here we can say that if a allotee has a particular right, duty in respect of that right is definitely with the promoter, and vice versa. So instead of going into that detail, after all, legal right, statutory right, obligation, we can simply say that what the statute expects from the promoter to do and what the statute expects from the allotee to do in order to complete their transaction in view of the provisions of the Act. At this stage, I may point out one case law of the Apex Court. It is 1978 Supreme Court Reporter, volume 1st, page 1st, State of Rajasthan versus Union of India. Honorable Apex Court laid down that legal rights in the strict sense are correlatives of legal duties, and legal rights are defined as the interest which a law protects by imposing duties on the others. So disregard to the duty amounts to wrong, and ultimately disregard to the duty gives rise to infringement of the right of some person. So while discussing all these aspects, we will simply say that what are responsibilities of both the parties, or what are duties of the both parties. Whatever word you want to use, you may use it, because our RERA is a social and beneficial legislation. It should be very simple. Everybody should understand it. Even a poor people, even an ordinary man should be in a position to understand what is this concept. So, Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016, when enacted in the year 2016 and made applicable with effect from 2017. Right now, I will like to point out that Section 88 of the RERA says that other acts are not barred. So, RERA has not repealed what we can say that any other act. I will point out one thing. However, Section 18 of RERA further says that it will have overriding effect in case of inconsistency with any other act. But at the same time, Section 92 of RERA says that Maharashtra Housing Act 2012, of which notification was not at all issued, stands repealed. So the matter ends, chapter close. But MOFA is survived. So MOFA 1963 is also there. RERA 2016 is also there. Definitely, we can compare both the acts because they are having the nexus with real estate sector and particularly the transaction between promoter and the allottee as far as transaction to purchase the homes is concerned. Friends, in order to understand the concept of rights and liabilities of two main pillars of real estate sector, that is promoter and allottee, we cannot ignore or overlook the object of the RERA. Whenever any act is enacted, always see what are the objects of the RERA. Unless we understand the objects of the act, we cannot understand the true spirit of the act and the correct intention of the legislation. What were the causes for framing those acts? So the objects of RERA, just we will hurriedly go through them. To establish the real estate regulatory authority to promote and develop the real estate sector. So regulatory authority is to be established. Very good. But for what purpose? To promote and also to develop the real estate sector. This is very important. Whatever you want to do, whatever authority want to do, it is established for promotion and development of the real estate sector. What wide scope you can give to the concept of development and concept of promotion, it is up to you and you can see it. Then the next is very important, that is to bring efficiency and transparency in the transaction of sale of flat between promoter and allottee. See this wonderful unhealthy practice. Definitely there was no transparency prior to the enactment. So this was the object, to bring the transparency, also the efficiency, and specifically mentioning that it is in respect of transaction of sale of flat, apartment or building. Then we can go a step ahead to safeguard the interest of the customers. Customers means we can very well say that allottees. So to safeguard the interest of the allottee is also one of the object of the RERA. And then further, to provide speedy and independent special adjudicating machinery. It may be an authority, it may be adjudicating officer and like that. And also to provide appellate tribunal to hear the appeal against the decision, order and direction passed by authority or adjudicating officer. Friends, here only I will make a mention that tribunal is expected to dispose of the appeal within 60 days. Similarly, authority is also bound to dispose of the matter within a stipulated time. So all these authorities, all these tribunals, which are styled as adjudicating machinery, they are bound to decide the matters within a particular time limit. This is also the crux of the RERA, and it must be observed scrupulously by everybody. Otherwise, people may not get the justice in time. Then, these are the broad objects. Still, we can go further. We can have some area where we can also get some new objects. What are those? We can say that to reduce the frauds and delays in transaction. So frauds were there in the transaction, delays were there in the transaction. Those are to be reduced with the help of RERA. Then accountability towards the allottees. which was totally absent prior to RERA. No accountability towards the allottees. He is a poor flat purchaser, imposing some responsibilities on both promoter and allottees. This is good. And symmetry of information between promoter and allottees. Scenario before this was very, very bad. One-sided transaction, one-sided information. You have to sign on dotted line. You are knowing nothing. You are simply going ahead to satisfy your dream of purchase of your own home. Friends, we know that stringent provisions are there in the RERA Act. And ultimately, constitutional validity of those provisions were duly challenged. We know the landmark judgment of Nilkamal Realtor. Then Honorable Chief Justice Naresh Patil and Honorable Rajesh Ketkar, they have given the verdict on in the December 2017, I think 6th December 2017. And they held that all the provisions of RERA are constitutionally valid. While making this observation, they have also made a specific reference to the fact that to complete the incomplete projects is also one of the object of the RERA. So this will not be there in the preamble, but we can understand this is also one of the object that to complete the incomplete project. Friends, rights and liabilities starts with section 11 onwards up to section 19 as far as RERA is concerned. But before reaching to section 19, it is our duty to see what is there prior to section 19. Whether it is having any nexus with section 11, 12, 13, 14 onwards. We cannot directly jump to section 11. Otherwise, this will be incomplete discussion. So as usual, open the book of RERA. Section 2 is there. It speaks about the definition. Everything is covered in the definition. Promoter, allottee, a real estate project. What is building? What is development work? What is external development work? What is internal development work? What is commencement certificate? What is occupation certificate? What is completion certificate? What is the definition of prospects? What is the definition of advertisement? Who is the real agent? What is section plan, layout plan, specification of the plant? What is the definition of the building? What is agreement for sale? Which is the competent authority? And like that. So it's a complete section as far as all the factors involved in real transaction sections are concerned. They are duly defined in section 2. Now here is the great change. MOFA was not having this provision. Section 3, registration of the project is made mandatory. Anybody who is launching the new project will have to get it registered under RERA Act with MahaRERA authority. So prior registration of the project with authority was made mandatory, is made mandatory. You see, project may be in number of phases. First phase, second phase, third phase. You are required to register the first phase independently, second phase independently, third phase independently. So registration is a must. Now, it is a rule that every project should be registered. Every rule is having an exception. So exceptions are also there. What are those exceptions? If a land to be developed doesn't exceed 500 square meter, or the number of units or apartments doesn't exceed 8 in inclusive of all the phases, then you need not register the project. If you have already received the completion certificate, this will be in respect of the project which were launched prior to 1/5/2017. If they were duly completed, they received the completion certificate, they need not go for registration, they are exempted. Again, the project for renovation, repair, redevelopment, particularly such projects in which element of new allotment, transaction of sale, marketing is not involved, they also need not be registered. Thus, Section 3 has made it mandatory to register every project which will not come under exception under Section 3. Now, I would like to point out that incomplete project on the date of application of RERA were also required to be registered. And naturally, those projects were given what we can say a reasonable time of 3 months for getting their incomplete project registered. If a project is to be registered, it is made mandatory, then tell us the procedure, how it is to be registered. Naturally, the next section gives us the idea that you have to make application for registration. That application should be in such a form with such a fees in such a time. All these are statutory language. Then what documents are required to be attached with the application? And here is the heavy burden on the promoter. Entire transparency in respect of the project. The matter starts as far as filing of document is concerned. First, give the details of the enterprise. Builder himself has to give the details as to whether it's a company, it's a partnership, it's a proprietary firm, what is its name, what is its address of business, what are the particulars of the registration of the company or the firm, then the name, photos of the partners of the company or firm, etc. So you get the clear idea that who is going to launch the project, what is his entire status. Then comes to the details of the project. What project you are launching? At the same time, it is made mandatory that promoter has to furnish the details about the project which he had launched during the last 5 years. So, what we can say that efficiency, merit of the promoter can be ascertained from this information that during last 5 years, how many projects he has launched. Further, status of those projects. Not only that, details about financial aspect of those projects. Not only that, pendency of the legal matters, disputes in respect of all those projects. In fact, you are launching some new project at some other place, but you have to give the details of your other projects which are incomplete. And allotee has got opportunity to read the promoter from the angle of business. Then naturally, project required approval and commencement certificate. Those are to be attached. Then further, sanction plan, layout plan, and specification of the project. Not only that, the plan of development work, facilities to be provided, such as firefighting, drinking water, emergency evacuation services, etc. Then further, you have to give the correct and complete description of the location of the project. That is very important. That too with all the particulars of that location, including the area. Then thereafter, the very important aspect from the point of view of allottee, they have to furnish the format of agreement for sale, format of allotment letter, which is to be signed by the allottee. Thereafter, they are also required to furnish the format of conveyance deed, which is to be executed after completion of the project, or as per the provisions laid down under the RERA Act. At the same time, particulars of the apartments are also required to be given. What type of apartments are there? What is the number? What is the area? Whether exclusive balcony is there, whether veranda is there, whether it is appertaining to the flat or apartment, how many garages are there, what are their areas, whether those are for sale, who are the real estate agents, what are their names, not only names, their correct addresses. Thereafter, very important aspect, name and addresses of the contractors, architecture, structural engineer, everything is provided in the registration of the project. And this is also not sufficient. It should be accompanied by declaration. Not only declaration, supported by affidavit, statement made on oath, solemn affirmation. What it should contain then? Again, the details of the land on which you are going to construct a building, any loan subsisting on that land, the period within which you are going to complete the project, you are undertaking to deposit 70% amount received from the allottees in this project in a separate account in the scheduled bank, and undertaking that this amount is to be used only and only for the construction of that project. Withdrawal of the amount is also conditional. Withdrawal is permissible only with the proportionate work of construction, and not more than that. Then who is going to decide it? Then the responsibility is on engineer, architect, and chartered accountant. They have to issue the certificate. What percentage of the work is done and what amount should be withdrawn in proportionate to that work. So this is also further inspected by auditor. After completion of the financial year, within 6 months, promoter is required to get audited all these things. Certificate of CA is very, very important thereafter. And that certificate is to be issued by the chartered accountant who is not working with the project, but who is practicing. So that amount is used for the project, whatever was withdrawn. And it was withdrawn as per the proportionate of the work. All these things are required to be completed and done. One more thing, some approvals are required to be taken during the progress of the project. So undertaking is also required on the part of promoter that till the issuance of the till the issuance of the commencement certificate or to a particular stage, I have obtained these approvals, and these are the approvals which are pending with the competent authority and which are necessary for act. Here only I would like to point out one thing. Whenever act is there, rules are there and regulations are also there. So promoter and allottee are not only required to obey the provisions of the act, they are also required to follow and observe the rules and regulations framed under the act. No doubt, rules and regulations cannot be framed by defeating the purpose of the act or the very meaning of the provisions of the act. Those should be in support of that. So under RERA, you get the provision that there is a provision for specifying a rate of interest. But rate of interest is framed under the rule by the state government under section 18. Under section 18. So this is what is very important. You cannot ignore rules and regulations also. I think the next stage, if you are honestly, correctly fulfilling all these things, you will get the registration. So the next section is about getting the registration, that is grant of registration. See how RERA is supervising, controlling, and speedily acting for going ahead. Authority has to register or issue the registration within 30 days from the date of receiving the application for registration. Authority should grant the registration if everything is correct. Concept of deemed registration is also there. Suppose this or that reason authority could not inform within 30 days that registration is issued or not. Then it is deemed that after lapse of 30 days, registration is issued to you. Once the registration is issued, naturally, what is the number? So registration number you will get. Whether registration number is sufficient? No, because authority is regulatory authority. They are regulating the entire affairs of the real estate sector, including the project. So they have created a website. Promoter is given web page. Promoter should create a web page and he should again fill up all the columns of that web page. That is for exclusively his project. So this is the procedure. Now promoter has reached to the web page. He has created. Now he has filled up all the columns. Naturally, those are in respect of the project. Detailed information, everything is there. Now here, section 11 starts, which is under chapter 3, functions and duties of the promoter. If you go to chapter 4, rights and duties of the allottee. Somebody will say whether promoters have no rights under RERA, because chapter 3 says functions and duties only. And chapter 4 says rights and duties of allottees. That's why initially I told you that don't misunderstand this concept. Let us read together chapter 3 and chapter 4, because performance of one duty by A, performance of duty by A amounts to or relates to right of B, and exercise of duty on the part of B may amount to fulfilling the right of A. So let us go and let us see what are the rights, liabilities, responsibilities of promoter and allottees. At this stage only, I would like to point out that MOFA Act is also there. It is not at all repaired. It is having section 3. The heading of section 3 is general liabilities of the promoter. If you go through those liabilities, many of them are also again reflected in chapter 3 of RERA Act as far as promoter is concerned. Friends, after creating a web page, what is required to be done by the promoter? First thing is that enter all the details of the project and details of the registration. Those are already contemplated under section 4 while submitting the application for registration along with the documents. Here only I will tell you legality, validity of section 4, stringent expectation of furnishing all these documents, essentials, details. This provision was a challenge before Honorable High Court in the writ petition in Nilkamal case. Thereafter, promoter is required to perform certain duties periodically. Quarterly, he has to up to date some information without fail. What is that information? Number of apartment or flat and types of apartment and garages which were booked during the period of that quarter. List of approvals taken and list of approvals pending before competent authority. Then what is the status of the project? Then further information and filing of any documents, if at all it is mentioned in the rule and regulations. So Act is always required to be read with rules and regulations. Thereafter, responsibility is cast on the builder. If at all advertisement is issued, if at all prospect of the project is launched or distributed or issued, then address of the website of the authority and registration number of the project allotted by the authority must be mentioned at a prominent place. I leave it to you. What is the prominent place? May I say one thing? Whenever I see paper, newspaper on first page, if we see any advertisement of any project, you have to go down. go down at the bottom in a small letter, you find that Maharera registration number. Is it prominent place? I do not know. Why? Why not to follow? Why not to obey all these mandatory things if our project is to be successfully completed? We are inviting troubles, half-heartedly compliance. Why so? You can see advertise, prospect, small letter. I do not know whether it is prominent place. I leave it to you. Then responsibility is also there to give the following information, to which I will refer. At the time of allotment letter or agreement for sale. What is that information? All the relevant information. That is sanction plan with layout, with specification, then approval, which is duly approved by the competent authority. Then it is to be displayed at the site or at a proper place as per the regulation. Then a stage-wise time schedule for completion of the project, including facility of civil infrastructure such as electricity, drainage, water. Then in respect of taking the responsibility in respect of all obligations, functions under the act, rule and regulations till the conveyance deed is executed. Then to obtain the completion certificate or occupation certificate or both as applicable as per the local law from the competent authority, and make it available to the allottees individually or association of the allottees if it is already there. Then if a project is being constructed, building is being constructed on leasehold land, then some other conditions are also there to obtain the lease certificate showing the lease period, certifying that dues and charges of leasehold land have been duly paid, and to make available such a certificate to the association of the allottees. Then it is a responsibility to form the association or society or cooperative society of the allottees. In absence of local laws, society is required to be formed within 3 months of majority of the allottees having booked their flats. Execution of registered conveyance deed in favor of allottees with undivided proportionate interest in the common areas as per section 17 is the responsibility of the promoter. It is also the responsibility of the promoter that to pay the outgoings until the physical transfer. All the outgoings were duly collected from the allottees only. And if in spite of physical transfer, promoter fails to pay the outgoings which were collected from the allottees, he cannot absolve his liability. That is continued. Even thereafter also, he will have to pay it. Then not to mortgage apartment, flat, once allotted, once agreement for sale is executed, not to create a charge, not to create interest. And if at all it is done, it will not affect the right of the allottee in respect of that property. No doubt, promoter may cancel allotment, but it should be as per the agreement for sale. So these are responsibilities which may be called as the duties and functions that are to be performed by promoter. Now, under section 19, rights and duties of the allottees are given to show the sanction plan duly approved by the competent authority at the time of allotment letter to the allottee is also the right of allottee under section 19(1) corresponding. Whatever there shown as a responsibility, duty in section 11 is having correlation with some right with allottee under section 19. Similarly, stage-wise time schedule for completion of the project, that is also very important, and it is shown as right of allottee under section 19(2). So right of allottee under section 19 of 2 comes as a duty under section 11 in the RERA Act, and it should be done by the promoter. Friends, after this, we can straightway go ahead to the next section. It is section 12. What it says, it speaks about the obligation on the promoter as far as veracity in advertisement and prospect is concerned. It is the bounden duty of the promoter to see that true picture, true facts, correct information should be exhibited in the project or prospects, because buyers, after verifying prospects, after verifying advertisements, may come to book the flat. In fact, promoter invite the buyers to book the flat on the basis of prospects, advertisements. Not only that, sometimes model flat is such a built up that any buyer feels that we should purchase this only. Such a nice built up that flat is always there with all decorations and like that, furniture, whatever, everything is there. So if you are using the advertisement, prospect as an offer to the public at large, you invite them to your project to purchase apartment and flats on the basis of some information. That information must be true information, correct information. And that is the responsibility cast on the promoter. Then section 12 further says, if incorrect information is given, incorrect statement is made in prospect regarding facilities to be given to the buyer, then what is the consequences? Promoter will have to pay compensation to such a buyer for loss and damage sustained by the buyer. Matter doesn't stop here. It's a serious mistake. Nobody should do it. That is what I feel. Not only that, you will be inviting the trouble of paying the compensation, but that allottee may withdraw from the project. He will claim refund of the entire amount along with interest and also the compensation. So not to invite such a trouble is a totally with promoter. He should take care. Let correct information and true statement should be made in prospectus and in advertisement. Otherwise, you will suffer a complaint under section 12 initiated by allotee. Thereafter, next section is section 13. Once again, making something, giving burden on the promoter. Promoter is restrained, I say restrained, from accepting more than 10% of the cost or price of the flat without entering into agreement for sale. So it's a conditional. So how much amount you can accept? If you are not going to execute an agreement for sale immediately, it should be up to 10%. If you cross that, then let there be first an agreement for sale, and it should be duly registered, not an unregistered. But at the same time, promoter is further guided how to execute an agreement for sale, what is its pro forma, what are the mandatory contents of such an agreement, particulars of the project, particulars of the number of buildings, particulars of the external work, internal work, particulars regarding facilities, schedule of payment, most important date of possession of handing over the flat. Everything is to be there in an agreement for sale. Similar provision is also there under MOFA under section 4, but it speaks limit is rather higher, 20%, up to 20%, here the 10%. So this is the responsibility of the promoter not to accept more than 10% unless enter into an agreement for sale and duly registered it. Then thereafter, we will move to section 14. Project is to be developed as per the sanction plan, layout, and specification of the project as approved by the competent authority. This is totally the responsibility. What we can say that this is a burden. It's a burden on the promoter. It is his liability. It is his duty to see that sanction plan must be adhered, not to make any deviation from the sanction plan. Now, if at all anything is necessary to be done by way of addition, alteration in the sanction plan, layout, specification, fixtures, fittings, common areas, then that can be done, but with the consent of the purchaser. Minor additions are there, alterations are minor, then it doesn't matter much. It can be done. But if at all major, permanent addition and alterations are there, then the consent of 2/3 allottees who have booked the flat in the project is required to be taken, and it is the responsibility of the promoter. As usual, what was provided under MOFA under section 7 to rectify the defects in the structure within 3 years. Here also, it is the responsibility, it is the duty of the promoter that structural defects or any defects in the work quality, services, etc., if brought to the notice by the allotee within 5 years from the date of handing over of the possession, then promoter is under bounden duty to rectify the said within 30 days, and that too without any further charge. And failure to do so on the part of promoter allottee will be getting compensation from the promoter. So it is for the promoter to stop the allottee, to give the opportunity to the allottee, to ask for compensation, to ask for refund. Now let us go to section 15. Naturally, it speaks about not to transfer or assign to third person majority rights and liabilities in respect of real estate project without obtaining prior consent of two-third allottees and without approval of the authority. If any promoter wants to transfer majority rights and liabilities in respect of the project, not only that two-third allottees should consent it, but also it should be approved by the authority. Then and then only he can transfer. All these provisions clearly show that project is launched by builder, but it is supervised, controlled, and forwarded ahead by authority, making the promoter to carry on certain mandatory duties periodically in respect of that period. Similarly, section 16 is also there. It speaks about obtaining the insurance of the project. That is also mandatory. It is the duty. And to pay the premium and then to transfer all those benefits to the allottees. Moreover, at the time of formation of the association of the allottees, the papers of the insurance should be handed over to such association. I tell you, this section 15 and 16 were also challenged in Anil Kamal realtor case before Bombay High Court. Similarly, section 14 in respect of responsibility to rectify the defects within 5 years without further charge. That was also challenged. Then thereafter, section 17 is there, which speaks that transfer of title in favor of allottees with common undivided interest in common area to the association of allottees. Then it has given some time limit that within 3 months it should be done if local laws are not there, or if local laws are there, then what is to be done. Then at the same time, what is further required to be done to hand over the documents and plans to the association after obtaining the completion certificate. The parallel provision is also section 11 of MOFA. Now here only I tell you to hand over the documents and plans including common area after obtaining completion certificate either to the association or competent authority as per local law is also shown as a right of allottees under section 19(5). So section 17 imposing duty on the promoter to hand over the papers, plans, completion certificate corresponds to the duty of the allottee to get such documents under section 19 subsection 5. Then thereafter, very important section, I may say, because many matters under these sections are being filed nowadays. Section 18. What is the gist of this section? Some responsibility is there on the promoter. If the promoter fails to complete the project as per an agreement, fails to hand over the possession as per the agreed date or specified date, word used is specified. Where specified? In an agreement. For what sort of transaction which is between both on paper, that is specified date. Then two options are given to the allottee. What are those options? First option is allottee may withdraw from the project, get refund of entire amount along with interest and also the compensation. This is first. What is second option? Allottee may continue in the project but he can claim interest on the amount paid to the promoter till the date of possession. Or we can say that for every month of delay in handing over the possession, allotee will be getting interest from the promoter. So either pay interest or otherwise pay entire amount along with interest and compensation. But this liability will be absorbed when, if you stick up to your terms and conditions of an agreement for completing the project and for handing over the possession on the specified date. Specified date is very important. So section 8 of MOFA was also there. Similar wording, but only one option was there: to withdraw from the project and to get the refund along with 9% interest. Here, continue in project, stay in project, get the interest for every month of delay in handing over the possession. This section was also challenged in Nilkamal. In short, we can say that whatever stringent conditions were imposed on the promoter for launching and completing the project, those were challenged on the basis of constitutional validity before the Honorable High Court. But unfortunately, constitutional validity of all those sections were answered in positive, and the request of promoters was not granted. Friends, section 18 is also having second part, third part. If the title of the land on which the building is constructed or project is launched, if it is defective, and due to that defective title of the land, allotee has a sustained damages or loss, then promoter's responsibility to compensate such allotee. What I have seen in this provision, subject to correction, you all are legal practitioners. We all are from legal fraternity. It's a question of perfect reading, correct understanding, correct study, correct approach. Everybody can see. What I came across, such a claim will not be time barred at all. So allotee can claim a compensation if the title of the land was found defective at any point of time. One cannot say that, no, now the project is completed, you have already taken the possession, now so many years have gone, now the title of the land is appears to be defective, so limitation is over. No, not like that. So this is very hard responsibility, but easy. If I am going to spend crores of rupees for the project on a particular land, I should take care to see that that land is not having any defective title. It should be clear. So that is what section 2 says. And section 3 is further added. See how the promoter is totally surrounded by whatever possible. If promoter fails to carry out obligations as per provisions of the Act, rule, regulation, or as per the term of an agreement for sale, then he is required to pay the compensation to the allottees. So rules, regulations are once again invited. Friends, I think I have discussed with you many of the aspects. Rights and duties of the allottees are also there under section 9. I think 1 hour is already over. Then should we stop here or should we continue further? I should,
So there's no problems if you continue for few more minutes.
for
Sir,
few more,
it's okay. Yeah, it's okay if you continue for few more minutes.
minutes. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yes. So I will hurriedly go through the remaining portion, and I will simply say to go through section 19, which covers the rights of the allottees, which are corresponding the duties of the promoters. Then we'll go ahead to see that I will just want to make one reference. Insolvency and bankruptcy code is also there. Amendment was carried out in that code. Then allottees are made creditors, financial creditors. So allottee can also approach under I and B code to NCLT to redress the grievance. The main prayer there will be to replace the management of the corporation. So there is a case law that is a pioneer urban land case, writ petition number 43 of 2019 Supreme Court. The entire scope of RERA, the entire scope of insolvency and bankruptcy code is defined there. And one thing is made clear: if a provision of RERA clashes with provision of IB code, then IB code will survive. It will prevail, and not the provision of the RERA. Or whatever it may be, but we should go and see that provision also. Now I wind up and I simply making one appeal. Real estate project can be made successful only if promoter and allottee will come together, will understand each other. In view of this COVID-19 scenario and the fact that for last 2 to 3 months, all constructions have been stopped, everything is closed. It is for promoters and allottees to help each other. Allottees should go only and only for home and not for interest unless justified. Similarly, promoter should do his duty in handing over the possession of the homes without giving any trouble. Only one right to the promoter is there, which I have seen. If the allottee fails to make the payment as per schedule of the payment of the price as mentioned in an agreement, then promoter is also entitled to claim interest. That is what the right is with him, or at the most, sometimes to cancel the allotment or to cancel an agreement if a breach is committed by the allottee, but that breach will have to be justified. Friends, then I will simply say that mindset of promoter and allottee should be changed. Rules must be obeyed. They should be implemented. Spirit behind the act must be studied. It should be given paramount consideration. To protect the allottees doesn't mean that to insecure the promoter. Both are necessary. Both are two wheels of chariot. Chariot will not move. If one wheel will not move, chariot will come to standstill. So strictly follow all the rules. That is what I say. And the success of every project is in the hands of promoter and allottees, not only in the hands of promoter or only in the hands of allottee or with the supervisory power of the authority. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry I couldn't see the time, and I went on just going lecture. Extremely sorry for taking much time on this subject, but you can understand. You are also the members of RERA practitioners associations. Act is very vast. Whatever we say, it is not complete. It is insufficient. My entire lecture is subject to correction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, that very informative lecture which has been which we have been given by you. Actually, I've come to know various sections right now in very deep. Leading to the other contest, there are certain questions by the participants, and I would like to put forth the questions with your due permission.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, first question is, after RERA, what is the importance of MOFA Act? And what is the status of MOFA Act now?
I have already told that MOFA is not repealed. It is in force. Then RERA has also come into picture. Now option is given to the parties. They may choose the forum of MOFA. They may choose the forum of RERA. They may select their remedy either under MOFA or under RERA. If inconsistency is there, then RERA will prevail. And similar way, before RERA has come into force, allottees or promoters having made their having taken their dispute before the consumer forum under MOFA Act are given liberty under section 71 to come back, withdraw those matters and come under the RERA. So MOFA is still there. It is for them. It is for parties to decide whether to go under MOFA or to come under RERA. But frankly speaking, if right now at present you will be filing the complaint before authority, naturally the complaint is under section 31 of the RERA. And if your complaint is under RERA, then you will be entitled for the reliefs under RERA. So speedy machinery being provided under RERA, results are being generated and peoples are getting something out of that results. And the intention of the legislation was to create a special machinery. That's why 30 days, 60 days are the time limits prescribed for disposal of the matters and everything. So both survived. It is up to them to choose the forum.
There is next question. The next question is Nilkamal judgment paragraph 92 and 111 says that RERA department departs from MOFA. Under section 8 of MOFA, there is only one right given, that is exist from the project. But under section 18, there are the two rights given. So, but MOFA still exists. So, what is the relevance of this section under MOFA which is being given? Hello.
I again say, under section 18, where you will be coming to authority. Under what section? 31. Complaint is lodged under section 31. Asking the remedy under section 18. Where is the question of MOFA? And in fact, nobody will prefer that section. Interest at that time is 9% on the refund. Right now, I think we are getting at least 10 point something for by way of interest. So if you are coming under RERA, then stick up to the provisions under RERA only. That is what I say. RERA has given in addition, only one option was there. That option is remitted, in fact, more developed, modified, and again, another option is also given. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. There's a next question regarding Nilkamal developers. There is a paragraph in Nilkamal developers. It has been emphasized that section 18 should be read in a large public interest. So it says that in term public interest in preamble when reads with the rights and obligation, whether allottee individual rights can be taken away, reduced, delayed, or diluted in the name of public interest. Hello. Hello. So can you hear me? Hello. So can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Actually, there's a next question regarding the Nilkamal Realitas Developers Judgment. It has been said that the rights and the rights which has been put up by rights and duties which has been cast upon the allottee, which has been explained under Nilkamal developer, it can be diluted, reduced, or it can be taken away in the name of public interest. Hello. So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear.
Uh,
Yes. You see, rights which are given under the statute and public interest, when both are involved, then what is to be done? That is what I think the question is there.
yeah.
We have to go as per the statute. We cannot do anything which is contrary to the statute. While interpreting the provisions of the statute, you may not forget that this enactment is a social enactment and beneficial enactment. So you have to understand this aspect in this way. Statutory right is there. You cannot disturb it. Statute has given it. But at the same time, interpretation of the provision is always there. True spirit of the act, social, beneficial legislation, and that legislation is having some provisions depending upon case to case, facts of each case, we can decide. But there cannot be a straight jacket formula as such. Since social legislation, since beneficial legislation, or for public interest, it should be taken away, or it is not like that. And I think where is that word, public interest? It might be appearing somewhere in Nilkamal judgment, I know. But as far as RERA objects are concerned, beneficial legislation is the word, social legislation is the word, because to me, everybody, that is promoter and allottees, both will come within the ambit of public. You cannot separate. Public interest means only interest of allottees. Act is beneficial. Act is social. That is one aspect. So that is what I feel. But it is subject to correction. It is subject to carrying on more study on this aspect. Right now, whatever is with me and in my mind, I have expressed, but it may be modified, it may be changed. We will study on this.
Uh, Next question has been asked by Anil D'Souza, sir. He has been saying that in many there are no possession date which has been mentioned by the promoter. Then what is the reasonable time period to complete a project, whether it is a 3 years, 5 years, or any other term which has been specified which by the promoter should be put up in a agreement?
Now it is settled position of law that if the date of possession is not mentioned, allotee cannot wait for indefinite period. Agreement cannot be construed to make the allotee to wait for indefinite period. Naturally, it should be reasonable period. Then what is the reasonable period? 3 years. There are case laws. We have considered all those settled position of laws, and so 3 years is the reasonable period whenever a date of possession is not there in an agreement.
Thank you so much, sir. There is next question that option under section 18 are the exclusive rights of the allotee, whether a promoter has a discretion or a control. Sir, on reading a section 14 in isolation, it appears that section 7 of MOFA is diluted and changed. But when we read section 14, the entire RERA Act, and it is clear that there is no change. Please guide what is correct position.
The question itself is very, very long.
Yes.
I cannot comment right now on that question.
Survi ma'am, please go further with the another question.
Okay, sir. Suppose the promoter puts up an additional construction without consent and nobody objects, then whether a promoter will become a rightful owner of such additional construction automatically? Promoter puts up an additional construction without a consent of any previous allottees, then whether he will become the owner of the additional construction or lawful owner of the construction which has been additionally constructed.
No, there cannot be any direct answer to this question. Because it depends upon facts. What will happen if it is like this, if it is like that? In law, we cannot answer like this. Additional construction made by the promoter, that is unauthorized. So you have already branded it. It is unauthorized. How it is unauthorized, we don't know. Somebody has declared it, we don't know. Then how we can answer? What will happen if this is so like that? Such questions cannot be answered. No.
Okay. So next question is by Ramdayal sir. Next question is by Ramdayal sir. He asked that in case the promoter signed a MOU before RERA was invoked, in which he has mentioned that flat will be allotted by way of lottery, but the lottery was never held, though it has been past 10 years. What will be the date of possession has been also lapped. In such a case, what are the rights of the flat buyers?
You see, again, it will depend upon many things. MOU is there. What is that MOU? What are the terms and conditions? Of MOU? Then in what way the transaction was further proceeded between the parties, at what stage it was stopped. We cannot definitely say anything about it. I cannot answer this question.
So one last question from the theoretical point of view. It has been asked by one of the participants. They have asked that whether interest, delay possession interest should be given once the OC, occupancy certificate, has been issued by the competent authority.
You see, the moment date of possession is crossed, promoter failed to hand over the possession as per the specified date, right is accrued to the allottee to claim interest for every month of delay that will result in getting the possession. Now, meantime, OC is received. Allottee kept mum, but till the OC is received, there was a delay of 10 months. Then after receiving the OC, promoter informed the allottee, this is the OC, occupancy certificate. Now you take the possession, and accordingly he takes the possession. This is obligation to take the possession within 2 months. Then in that case also, only because OC is issued, it will not stop the allottee to whom the right to claim interest has already accrued. He cannot, if he has given up, then the question is different. If he has surrendered it, then the question is different. But unless it is given up, unless it is surrendered, unless it is waived, merely because OC is issued, we cannot say that his right, which was accrued to him, will come to an end or will be diminished. No, not at all. He can, but only to the extent of date of issuance of the occupancy certificate, not beyond that. If the possession is offered.
There is one question regarding the registration of this project. It says that if the land which is on which the project is to be developed, the units are less, but the land which is to be developed is more than 500 square meters. Then whether that project is to be get registered under RERA and vice versa question has been asked by one of the participants.
You see, on this point, I have delivered my own independent judgment. And my colleague members have delivered their own judgment. The decision was 2 against 1. I was in minority. One can see that judgment and he will get the answer from them. Since it is put up to me, still I am stick up to my stand, though it was minority view. I think I have observed that wording or should not be there, wording and should be there, and like that.
Okay, sir. There is one more question by Sunil, sir. It has been said that after taking an advance of 10% and more, it is mandatory to enter into an agreement to sell. But in case we have given a money to the promoter, but he is not at all entering into an agreement, and then there is no procedure as been prescribed for the cancellation of the flat. So, what, as per RERA, what is the procedure if the agreement has been not entered between the two parties, and to get the money back from the promoter?
Under RERA, he can initiate the action by filing complaint against the promoter.
Okay, sir.
Yes, he can.
There is one more question, that is, in case there is an amenities and agreement has been initiated regarding the amenities, and in case that amenities been not provided by the promoter, then section 18(3) has been invoked by the promoter. So whether we and section read along with the section 12, so whether damages can be granted by the tribunal in this regard, if it has been altogether mentioned in the agreement.
What is the decision of authority initially on that point? That is not mentioned. Question is asking about authority, about the power of the tribunal to grant the damage. Whether initially it was before authority, such a prayer was there, what authority has observed. We are sitting in appellate forum. Actually, we are supposed to see correctness, legality, and propriety of the order of the authority. Still, being a social and beneficial legislation, we go ahead in that aspect. So directly, it is not possible to say anything about that.
So one last question, that is section 17, which requires promoter to transfer undivided proportionate title in common areas. What about the sum of undivided proportionate right in the title are already being created in the name of existing occupants who are owing their flat in the building already completed on the same plot? Don't this three occupants have their proportionate right? So, and it has been seen that promoters avail loan from the private investors by issuing the allotment letter as a security. What are the challenges in case of this transaction and enforcement of such securities?
Sorry, once again, I cannot answer this question.
Okay, sir.
And
So
please don't use this forum for getting advice. RERA Act is very simple. It is also in Marathi. So this is not our legal aid clinic center.
So they are the end of the questions from the participants. There are other questions also, but which emphasize on the practical aspects. So many of the questions has been answered by Sir fantastically. Thank you so much for your guidance and valuable knowledge being spared by you. I request Sujata Bhave ma'am to give the vote of thanks and to conclude the session.
Thank you. आवाज नाही येत.
Sir, can you hear me? The RERA Association feels fortunate to have you conduct this lecture today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for a very insightful lecture you gave us. While planning a lecture like this one, it was imperative to gain the participation of an expert like you in this field. We appreciate your willingness to share your time and expertise in this area. You were very patient and have gone through the Act section by section. I'm sure your remarks have triggered new ideas and will benefit the participants on the RERA Act, which aims to promote transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the real estate sector. In the end, once again, I would like to state that the RERA Association, headed by our President, Advocate Nilesh Borate, are most grateful to our honorable speaker today and all the participants. We thank you for being with us through this evening, and it was a great pleasure to have you all on the same platform today. Thank you and have a good evening.
1 minute. I am very grateful to RERA Practitioners Association, particularly President and all office bearers,